9:35 a.m. Starting a little late is the conference which will decide the contents of an evening newspaper. Present are senior members of the sub-editorial and newsroom staffs, and representatives from photographic, sports and circulation departments. In the chair is the paper's editor-in-chief. The bustling city of Peterborough is the home of an evening newspaper which, in its short life, has earned the title finest in England. An historic city set in the middle of the richest farmland in the country, it is also the industrial capital of 4 counties set between East Anglia and the Midlands. A bustling go-ahead area needs a go-ahead newspaper that's not only first with the news, but is also bright, attractive and provocative. To sell in Peterborough, an evening newspaper must appeal to all classes, all ages, all interests. These are the standards the Peterborough Evening Telegraph aims at. By maintaining them, the paper's circulation and influence has gone up year by year, month by month, to reach an ever-widening public, whether it's bought across the shop counter, delivered to the door, or bought from the traditional street corner newsstand. But if the paper is sold locally, its contents come from far further afield. From all over the world, news flows into the paper's main office in a never-ending stream on the teleprinter of international news agencies. But you don't just sit still to collect news. You can't test a car from an office or report a major fire or photograph a Boy Scout jamboree from a desk. Other ingredients of the paper's nightly fare, such as women's fashion news, cinema reviews and public comment, have to be sought out on the spot. Sport, too, is an essential part of the local scene and must be given full coverage. Sport in all its aspects. From dawn till dusk, 6 days a week, every week, news pours into the paper's editorial offices by teleprinter, phone and every known form of modern communication. Every item, in its own way urgent, every word, every picture demanding speedy, skillful handling. And it's not only news that requires prompt attention on an evening newspaper. Advertisers, too, expect quick results, and get them. Whether it's the local businessman who wants advice on the style and layout of a major display advertisement, or the everyday reader seeking help with the wording of a classified insertion, the Evening Telegraph has trained staff available to lend a guiding hand. If they want to sell a house or hire a bus, it's through the advertising columns of the Evening Telegraph that readers tell their neighbours what they have to say. From the relative quiet of morning, pace and pressure steadily increase as the contents of the paper flow in to meet the demands of various editions. First stop for the paper's news content is the sub-editor's room. Subs, specialists in the economical use of words, are trained to determine the size and style of type, to devise eye-catching headlines, and to position stories and photographs in their most effective position on the page. Once a story has been checked and marked by the subs, no time is lost in passing it through into the printing works. The first stop for copy in the works is the composing room, where linotype operators transform the written word into metal type. A linotype machine looks very much like an overgrown typewriter, but it is far more than that. It is, in fact, a combination of typewriter, computer, and miniature foundry. As soon as the type has been cast, it must be checked. Lines of type, known as slugs, are made up in order in a galley tray, and an impression is taken on strips of paper called galley pulls. One pull is for the sub-editors, another is rushed to the readers department, where experienced staff study every proof for literal errors. Meantime, hand composing is carried out to set large-sized display type for advertisements and headlines. Just as written copy must be transformed into metal type, so too must the paper's photographs be made into blocks. This work is done in the photo engraving department, where modern equipment and methods perform in minutes a job which used to take many hours. First, the photograph to be used is rephotographed by a special camera to produce a screen negative composed of many graduated dots. The image of this negative is then transferred to a pre-sensitized zinc plate, which is exposed to ultraviolet light then developed and hardened in special solutions to make the areas to be printed acid resistant. Next, the plate is placed in an automatically agitated bath so that acid can eat away the areas not required for printing. Finally, the whole plate is closely examined to ensure that the etching is to the required depth. As copy and blocks are approved, they are placed in the position that they will eventually take on the page. At this stage, the paper appears not only upside down, but reversed, as if seen through a mirror, as editorial staff and compositors work together to position the type and blocks in their frames. Once the appearance of a page has been approved on the composing room stone, it is almost ready for printing. Well, not quite ready for printing, as the type is still flat and the rotary press prints from cylinders. And so we have yet another transformation operation. A papier-mâché impression is now made of the metal type in a special press to produce what is known as a flong. Now in the casting department, the flong is dried and curved to correspond with the type of the press. Hardened now, it is placed in a stereotyping machine to be flooded with molten metal. The resulting plate is cut, trimmed, cooled, and is now ready for the waiting presses. Plate by plate, the pages of the newspaper now take their place on the vast rotary machine which can print the paper at the rate of 30,000 an hour. Getting copies of the paper from the press to the tea table is a race dictated by the clock. It's never done quickly enough for the men whose worst enemy is time. But every operation, from the minute the papers leave the press in their pre-counted bundles until they speed from the works, is done with the unhurried haste of long experience. But in the end, it's always the clock that wins. The time always comes when there are no more editions to print, no more vans to carry them, no newsboys to deliver them. A good paper, better or worse than yesterday? Now is the time to decide. There won't be time tomorrow.